I took this picture with a self-timer remote while standing in front of a window using only natural light. I got the blurry motion effect on my face by setting the camera to a slow shutter speed around 1/50th of a second and moved my face back and forth as the camera took the picture. In this Photoshop lesson, you will be able to watch along as I paint in the background using a hard black paintbrush. It took me less than 2 minutes to paint in the background. I pointed the camera down to get the bottom of the space dress, and I'm just going to copy and paste that selection onto the main image, and then I'm going to transform it by hitting Command T on my Mac keyboard, and I'm going to just stretch it out and make it bigger. And then I'm going to create a layer mask on the layer and use a paintbrush with black on top and just erase away at the edges of the selection so that it blends in with the first selection of the space dress. Then I'm going to bring in 2 more dress selections and just layer them on top of the other selections, and also create layer masks and erase away so that all the selections blend nicely together. And for the dress selections, I'm also going to transform them and go to the warp tool and just stretch them out and give them a more curvy effect so that it looks more like a realistic dress versus just some fabric that I'm just layering on top of each other on Photoshop. You can tell that I'm constantly clicking the layers on and off to see if there are any mistakes or any places where I should be blending the lines better together. And you can see this is what the picture looked like before and after the added dress layers. I also definitely want the dress to have more curvy lines so that it looks like an actual dress, so I'm going to make a selection on the bottom of the dress, copy and paste that selection, then transform it and use a warp tool to distort the edges of the dress selection. And I'm just clicking the layers on and off so you can see what it looked like before and what it looked like after. Now I'm going to add some curve layers to give an artistic coloring to the image, and I'm just going to click my curve layers on and off so you can see the difference. And now I'm bringing in some of my favorite textures. On this texture, I'm doing something different, something I've never done before, where I change the blending mode to screen mode, and then I darken the layer, which is how I get the little dots to show up to kind of give the space/stars effect in the picture. And I'm going to take some of those textures and duplicate it and flip them horizontally so that they show up even more. This is another new thing I recently started doing, where I add motion blur to certain areas of the picture to make the subject blend in a little bit more with the background. Just use a lasso selection tool to draw a circle around the areas you want to add motion blur to, then redefine the selection to make it soft, and then go to Filter, Blur, Motion Blur, and just play around with the settings. And I'm clicking the layer on and off so you can see the before and after effect of the motion blur. I'm also clicking on the layers of the textures on and off so you can really see how adding on textures really gives a painterly feel to the picture. I'm also clicking on and off my selective color adjustment layers so you can kind of see my coloring difference. Now I'm just adding on more levels, I'm adding on more curves, I'm adding on even more selective color adjustment layers and just making the background more blue and green to kind of give it a Milky Way effect. I also want to just point out that I darkened my skin and also added more green and red highlights to my skin by using curve layers. I also added motion blur to both sides of my dress to make it blend in with the background a little bit more. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and learned something new. If you found this tutorial helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel because I'll be coming out with different tutorials every week. Feel free to imitate this exact picture if it helps you learn Photoshop. If you don't have a space tapestry, you can always just use regular fabrics from Joann's Arts and Crafts store for pretty cheap. Tonight, I'll be making a picture based around light painting, so definitely check back for that tutorial later on, and I hope you all have a very creative weekend.